Valentine's Day is one of those holidays that can either feel fun and flirty or low key upsetting. And I feel like there's very rarely an in between there. It really is just one of those holidays that pulls out weird emotions from people. It makes you feel like you need to be capital D, capital S, doing something to either celebrate your love for yourself or celebrate love for your partner. And all of the chocolates and the greeting cards can be a little overwhelming. Even though it may feel this way while you scroll through social media, Valentine's Day does not have to be about celebrating your singleness or flaunting your relationship. It can really be whatever you want to make it out to be. I do love Valentine's Day because you know what? With all of the crazy things that go on in the world in any given week, I feel like having a day to celebrate love is honestly something that we could all use. That could be love for yourself, your partner, your family, your friends. Truly, it is all up to you. So today I thought we would do a little pre-Valentine's Day episode to share some ways to celebrate love, whatever that looks like in your life right now. And if you're a Valentine's Day skeptic or hater, stick with me here because I do have a couple of ideas for how to make this holiday more fun than stressful. Before we get into the topic of Love Month, let's do a little create and consume as we do at the top of every episode. So, as far as what I was working on creating this week, I actually just shared a reel on Instagram. I actually reposted it a couple times because it was like weirdly glitching and said it had 8 views for like 3 hours, which I did not really think was the case. But anyway, it's not got that many views now since reposting it, but it's there on Instagram. A little reel that I put together over the weekend of 7 romance novels to read this month. When exactly did I become a romance reader? I'm not sure, but I'm happy to be here and be the one recommending different books for you guys. So I will link that in the show notes if you want to see a list of 7 books I think you should read during Love Month. And one thing I will say about all of the romances that I recommend in this reel is they are all pretty timeless, like evergreen reads. I find a lot of romances are beach reads or focus on like summer flings and warm weather. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm very much still freezing here in February in the New York City area. So I really wanted to recommend some romance books that I feel like could work for any time of year and also any type of romance reader. So I've got a couple books that are like friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, lots of different tropes here. There's forbidden love because two people are on a sequestered jury. There's forbidden love because it's a workplace and everyone wants to proceed as normal at work, but secretly also hook up with their coworker. So truly, whatever you're in the mood for, I feel like I've got you covered on there. If you have any questions about the books, feel free to message me. I did also put the spice level in that reel so that you can just see what the vibes are to either be warned or be excited before you start reading. And then as far as what I've been consuming this week, it was just Super Bowl Sunday. And as a football fan, I gotta say, the Super Bowl, not very super. I mean, that was probably one of the most boring football games I've watched all season. And because I am a Giants fan, I watched all of those games. And because I played fantasy, I also watched a good amount of other football this year. And wow, that Super Bowl was just not it, really, in terms of the football. So, congratulations to the Seahawks. I honestly don't feel that bad for the Patriots because they typically have pretty good luck with these things. So, to have something not go their way for once in their life, you know, you live and you learn. However, I really did enjoy the halftime show. And I am someone who started taking Spanish, I want to say in kindergarten, took it all the way up through freshman year of college. And even though I have tried on my own to continue speaking Spanish and learning Spanish, whether it's through like Duolingo or even just, you know, attempting to communicate with people in my neighborhood who I get to know, like business owners, people who work in the area who do speak Spanish, and attempting to communicate through the Spanish language, I gotta say, I still missed like 99% of the words. And if anyone has any recommendations for language learning classes that have actually worked for them, whether online or even in person in the New York City area, please DM me and let me know. I think Spanish is an extremely valuable language to learn. I mean, the majority of Americans don't speak a second language. I would argue that I'm one of them, even though I can maybe pass like a conversation with a few people on the street. But you know what? I didn't have to understand the songs to understand the message. And I am really proud of Benito. And I thought it was not just an amazing show in terms of like choreography and everything, but even the camera angles, the scenes that were created within this world that he created. I just think it was one of the most well thought out and well executed performances in a long time. Obviously, loved the ending and the messaging. And, Bad Bunny was actually the perfect segue into the topic of today's episode because the very last thing he left us with up on the screen, written in English, was the only thing more powerful than hate is love. And that is so for real of him. With that being said, let's get into today's episode. And by the way, I did get a new cord for my camera, so I'm hoping the quality looks better to you if you're watching on YouTube. Hopefully the audio is still good with the new mic setup. And also with this new setup, I no longer have my laptop in front of me, so if you see me on my phone, I'm referencing my notes and my outline for the episode. So let's talk Valentine's Day. I personally feel like Valentine's Day is a lot of fun, but also a very overhyped holiday. I think that there's so many mixed emotions that come when you hear Valentine's Day spoken or when you see that it's coming up on the calendar, because it can be a little bit overwhelming. It's also a holiday that I feel like brings about emotions, whether you are single or in a relationship or whatever the case is. It's romantic and sweet, but it's also highly commercialized. I have experienced many versions of Valentine's Day in my lifetime, from handing out Valentines in grade school to all of my single girl Valentine's Days. There were at least 22 or maybe 23 of them, if I'm counting correctly. And then obviously have now celebrated Valentine's Day differently since being in a relationship and then getting married in 2023. And I think regardless of your relationship status, there are still things to celebrate and be excited about when it comes to Valentine's Day. And love truly comes in so many different forms. I know that probably sounds a little bit trite when we're talking about Valentine's Day, but I just mean to say that not all love is romantic love. There are so many different things that you can love in your life, whether it's your friends and family, whether it's your apartment, whether it's your career, whether it's your wardrobe, or just even little quirks about yourself. I like to kind of create my own adventure when it comes to Valentine's Day. And by the way, you guys, half the time for Valentine's Day, it falls during New York Fashion Week, which is of course the case this year. So I'm trying to say no to things that are happening the evening of Valentine's Day, but it just goes to show that in my single girl era, for the record, I would be out at a New York Fashion Week presentation ideally on Valentine's Day. And be sure to stay tuned. You guys can connect with me over on Instagram. I will also be doing a vlog of the week for YouTube. So if you want any and all Fashion Week content, be sure to connect. All of my socials and everything are always linked in the show notes. And I do think that if there's enough to talk further about on the podcast, that will be next week's episode. So if you guys have any Fashion Week questions or things you want me to address in any upcoming content, let me know what they are. But I stand by that Valentine's Day can be a real choose your own adventure opportunity, whatever season of life you're in. And to back up a minute, I wanted to share a brief history of Valentine's Day because it's one of those things that every time Valentine's Day comes around, I feel like it's brought up. How did it all get started? Who was Valentine? Valentine was a person, right? I put together a brief history of Valentine's Day here. It's actually kind of dramatic, you guys. Listen to this. You may think of Hallmark cards and heart-shaped boxes of chocolate when you hear Valentine's Day now, but this holiday actually dates all the way back to ancient Rome, where in mid-February, the Romans essentially celebrated a festival which was all about fertility, spring, and matchmaking. In the 3rd century, the Catholic Church honored a priest named Valentine, who, according to legend, secretly performed marriages after they were banned by Emperor Claudius II, who believed that single men made better soldiers. Kind of rude of that emperor, no, to just ban marriage altogether. I mean, kind of iconic of Valentine to still be performing them even when the emperor said no. You want to know why, emperor? Because you can't stand in the way of love. Be so for real. So then Valentine was executed on February 14th, which I always forget that too. That's a very sad reference to Saint Valentine there. And over time, this date became associated with love. In the Middle Ages, poets like Chaucer linked the day to romance. And by the 1700s, people were exchanging handwritten love notes. It's eventually all snowballed and evolved into the holiday that we all know and are aware of today. That's actually a crazy way for Valentine's Day to have come about. So I thought it was fun to look into the history of that a little bit. Now, let's talk about spending Valentine's Day in your single era. I personally feel like being single on Valentine's Day is a vibe. I mean, when you think about being single, even just in general, you just have all the freedom in the world. You have so many different possibilities, and you can really make life and each day into what you want to be spending your time doing and focus on what's most important to you. And I think the best part is probably that you never have to compromise and worry about another person other than yourself. Like when you really get to prioritize yourself, you spend a lot of time with yourself and you get to know yourself. I think that's one of the best things that a person can do. And when you're in your single era, that allows you to really deep dive into those emotions, into your own brain, and get to know yourself so well so that when you are just even going about your day to day, you know how to make decisions that are going to make you happy and support your actions, your dreams, your desires, your goals. And I think it's just such an important reminder that you don't have to compromise anything that you don't want to or wait for someone to make life feel magical. Like you have full authority and autonomy to make your life what you want it to be. And I think that is the sickest part about someone in their single era. And you do not need to wait for someone else to come around and give you permission to show yourself love or have fun or do anything, essentially. You get to do it all by yourself of your own authority. And maybe you're in your single era and absolutely loving it right now, or maybe you're in your single era and craving a relationship. I totally understand both sides of the spectrum. I've been on both sides of the spectrum myself too. And again, I know this is such a cliche thing to say, but I really do believe that timing is everything. And when you are just really in love with your own life, when you're prioritizing yourself, when you're doing things that make you happy, good things do come back to you. Let me run through a couple of fun solo date ideas that I wrote down for this part of the episode. So I think number one is if you want to go out and have a fancy meal or grab a drink or treat yourself in some way on Valentine's Day, or even, the day before or the day after, I think you should absolutely do that. I actually, even as someone who's married, do love a solo date. I love getting a chance to pop out and like have a drink. I love bringing a book to a bar. I've only done it, I think, twice in my life, but there is something about that that's just really sweet to me. Like just being really comfortable to go sit somewhere by yourself. Obviously, you could bring, your phone or a book or something to keep you occupied. But I just love the idea of putting yourself in a place where, again, like you are there to celebrate yourself. You buy yourself a nice drink, you bring a book that you've been excited to read, the vibes are right. And I think that doing this, maybe not exactly on Valentine's Day, only because I feel like restaurants get very annoying about Valentine's Day. I will actually circle back on that in a little bit because I have more to say. But even like the day before or the day after, if you want, I just, the 14th at a restaurant is a questionable situation, at least in my experience it is. But that doesn't mean that you don't deserve to be taken out, and you can take yourself out and you can go get any kind of food that you want. If you don't feel like going out, you could also stay in. One of my favorite ways to spend a solo evening is to just like romanticize my life and get cozy. And you can honestly do this any time of year, but the vibes are definitely right in February. Again, if you live anywhere in the Northeast or in the North in general, I feel like you have also felt the pain of snowbanks that won't melt and freezing cold temperatures. You could always just stay in. And I love to order in takeout, put on one of my favorite comfort shows, or listen to some good music, just like dance around the apartment, chill by myself. That honestly sounds absolutely amazing. You could hang up twinkle lights, you could decorate for the holiday, you could even just write yourself a little note, a little letter to yourself. I kind of feel like the possibilities are endless. Also, I did do a podcast episode. It must have been right around the time the podcast started, actually, because I wrote down that it's episode 14. That episode is the perfect solo weekend itinerary. So if you're looking for even more ideas, especially because Valentine's Day falls on a Saturday this year in 2026, that episode, go listen to it if you're looking for some ideas for how to spend time with yourself this weekend, because I feel like there is so much more in there. Like, going to sit at a bar with a book is probably on that episode, but there's definitely even more suggestions in there for your ideal solo weekend itinerary. So if you're looking for more ways to spend time with yourself and really just unwind and relax this weekend, if you're listening to this episode in real time, I will link that one in the show notes so you can go check it out. And just a couple other ideas for ways to spend your solo time. You could do some journaling. You could create a vision board. If you already made a vision board for 2026, you could make one for the month of February or even for the spring season coming up. You could also treat yourself to a coffee from your favorite coffee shop. You could go on a nice long walk around your neighborhood as long as it's not too cold. You could visit a museum, read a book that you want to read. The options are honestly endless. So if you are single this Valentine's Day, just remember that you have freedom to truly do whatever you want to do. So enjoy it and soak it up, because single season doesn't always last forever. Something could be right around the corner and you have no idea. Now, what to do for Valentine's Day if your relationship status, if we still do those, is it's complicated. I remember back in high school, the relationship status was like a big deal, and you either like were in a relationship when you were dating someone, which was never me, didn't date a soul in high school, or you would be like fake married to one of your friends. Like, I'm pretty sure I was married to my friend Serena for probably 5 or 6 years when I had that on Facebook. And I remembered thinking like, oh my gosh, like when I'm actually in a relationship, like I can't wait to change that. This is very like 2010 coded, and literally married now. Could not even tell you if it says I'm married to Andrew on Facebook or not. I don't think either of us ever updated that after we got married in 2023. So again, as long as I know I'm married and Andrew knows he's married, I think those are the most important things. But to think for a second about if your relationship status is what you would label it's complicated. I mean, this could be a whole host of different things. And by the way, I have also been in a lot of these positions before too. I mean, if you feel like you are currently in a situationship that you can't seem to define, or maybe you don't necessarily want to define, but you don't like that it's a situationship. Maybe you're in a long distance relationship. I know that is a whole other area that truthfully I don't really have much experience in, but I know is really hard and involves a lot of additional communication, a lot of the like really hard parts of a relationship, and not always a lot of the really fun parts of a relationship, especially when you can't physically be together in the same space. Or maybe you are recently going through a breakup, or maybe you even recently experienced a loss on the romantic love front. I mean, there is so many different things to think about in this category, and I just wanted to like acknowledge for anyone who's going through a rougher season or who's in this complicated state, whether you're not really with the person anymore that you always thought you would be with, or you don't know when the next time you're going to see this person is, or you don't even know if this person is in a relationship with you or not. It is always toughest to really like examine these situations when you're still so close to them. And, you know, even for me, like when I think back on heartbreak that I've been through or situationships that like didn't ever pan out into anything, I can look at them now with so much perspective and clarity. But when I was in the thick of them, when I was in those moments, it obviously felt very all consuming, and like there was nothing else to even think about or talk about sometimes. And if you're in that place right now, that's okay. Like you can be in the exact place that you're in right now. And just because there's a holiday on the calendar, it doesn't mean you need to like rush to fix things or get back out there or do anything that you don't want to do. Sometimes you just have to like live in the messiness for a little while. And I hope that the messiness period doesn't last too long, obviously, but there's nothing like a capitalist Hallmark holiday to sneak up on you and bring a ton of emotions to the forefront on a day like Valentine's Day, you know? So I hope that the podcast provides some source of entertainment or maybe even a bit of escapism for you if you are in the messy middle right now. I really feel like my best advice in a situation like this is just do what you need to do and do what makes you comfortable. And maybe that's staying offline for a few days. You guys know I'm a big fan of taking a social media break. Last year, I took 3 week-long breaks off of Instagram and TikTok specifically. Those are like my problem apps where I tend to scroll. Maybe like Friday through Sunday of this weekend is a mini social media break for you. I honestly recommend them, regardless of whether or not you feel like you need one. If you have a long distance partner, maybe you can set up an intentional Zoom date with them. Maybe you guys can find a time in a time zone that works for you both and do something a little bit fun or romantic or festive over Zoom. Obviously, it's not as good as if you could be together in the same room, but it's definitely something. And if your situationship is causing you stress or anxiety or anything along those lines, maybe this is a good time to take a step back from that. You don't have to do anything just because there's a holiday coming up. You can plan something low pressure with friends and say, hey, I definitely want to come to this, but also, is it cool if I change my mind at the last minute and back out? Like, I really want to get out there and see you right now, but I'm also kind of going through something, and I just want to give myself the flexibility, if I'm not feeling up to it, to say no. Like, I think even saying that to friends is totally valid. Your friends will obviously be understanding. And I'm going to share some more ideas for getting together with friends around Valentine's Day in just a second. And again, if you just don't even want to acknowledge this day, there's nothing that says you have to. I think just checking in with yourself and having an honest chat about how you view Valentine's Day, things you intentionally want to do or plan, or things that you want to just kind of avoid or skip altogether, will make sure that whatever you're going through this day, whether, again, maybe you're missing someone and you broke up with someone, maybe you're not with your person even though you wish you could be, or maybe you don't know if your person who you're currently seeing is actually your person long term or not. I know that this holiday can bring up a lot for things, but making sure that you set your own boundaries and clearly communicate with all the parties involved, even if that's just yourself, to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. Let's move on and chat about Galentine's Day. Amy Poehler voice. What's Galentine's Day? It's only the best day of the year. Friendships have their own love stories. I fully stand by that quote from Sex and the City about your friends being your soulmates in many regards. So all the more reason to get together with the gals and celebrate. And official Galentine's Day, if we want to call it that, is February 13th, so the day before Valentine's Day. And I honestly think, though, you could celebrate Galentine's pretty much any part of the month. And it also doesn't even need to be Galentine's specific. A hang with the girls is always going to do something for my soul, personally. A couple of cozy ideas for Galentine's Day. Number one, you could do a wine tasting at home. I think I may have talked about this on the podcast last week, but I actually did this as a date night for Andrew and I, but I could easily see myself doing it with a group of my friends as well. It's literally so easy. You basically go out and buy, I don't know, like 4 to 5 different wines that you want to use for your tasting. Or you could do this with your friends where maybe everybody brings a bottle. I think that would be a cute take on it. And it also takes some of the hosting pressure and cost off of you if you're offering to host a Galentine's wine tasting. So anyway, you get your bottles of wine, you pull down every wine glass from your kitchen cabinet that you have, or honestly, you could probably get disposable ones from Target, Home Goods, plastic ones that you could use, and you line them up. And then I personally took a piece of parchment paper that has the brown color and background. I know they make it in white too, but I liked the brown. I pulled out a piece of parchment paper, took a Sharpie, and wrote the name of the wine up top. And then I also had purchased a couple of different snacks to pair with each wine. So I basically did this little DIY wine tasting at home. And again, I would absolutely do this with friends too. I think that having everyone bring a wine that they really love, that they want everyone else to try, could be really cool. And the way that you could kind of just set it up is to go lightest to darkest. Also, if you're using just the same glass, that would obviously require fewer dishes. But it's honestly such a fun idea. I will link the reel that I did of the wine tasting in the show notes for this episode in case you want to go take a watch. Literally so fun. Okay, next idea. I'm actually giving credit to my friend Lauren here because Lauren hosted us for Galentine's Day / book club last weekend at her new home, which was so fun. So my friend Lauren recently moved from Jersey City to the New Jersey suburbs, and she offered to host our February book club. So I drove out there Saturday with a couple of other gals in the book club from the New York City area. And when we got there, first of all, Lauren is a fabulous host, you guys. Like, she truly thinks of everything. I aspire to have her hosting brain and skill set, and just being in her new home where we could be in the dining room and everything too. That was truly just amplified. Like, she's clearly in her element. So instead of just having, snacks and everything and for us to discuss the book for book club, she also hand baked. Okay. She made all of these cake molds for us. So she basically gave us these plain cakes in the shape of a heart, and then also provided like the cake stands, the piping bags, all the frostings, sprinkles, all the decorations and things we needed to make our own cakes, like to do cake decorating together. You guys, this was the actual cutest thing ever. I felt like I was in whatever the Galentine's version of a Hallmark movie would be. And I'm actually kind of low key not bad at cake decorating. I think I would have been better if I had smoothed out my edges a little more, if I had been a little bit more careful with that. But I just enjoyed decorating. I smeared frosting or icing. Is it frosting or icing? Are those kind of the same things? Let me know in the comments if you know the difference, because now I'm actually second guessing myself and I did not write this down in my outline at all. But anyway, I did like a white base and then I used the piping bag to do little pink squiggles of icing, I guess I'll call it for now, on top. And then I put XOXO on the top, covered it in sprinkles, and it came out so cute. I brought it home. I haven't actually tried it yet. It's in the fridge. Andrew had a slice last night and said it was good. But it was just such a fun activity for us to do. I also love a girls group activity that like doesn't really involve drinking, because I know that a lot of things obviously are centered around drinking and, you know, like wine tasting. And I love a drink as much as the next gal. But obviously, I drove a group of gals on Saturday, so I didn't drink anything that night. And Lauren also had these little like Olipop Shirley Temple things to try. I'm sure you could even look up more ideas for this on Pinterest too. Like if you just type in girls' night or girls' night in ideas, I'm sure you'll find no shortage of things. I did also write down you could do like a vision board night with your friends. For me, vision boarding feels like a solo activity to really like focus in on my goals and what I want for myself. But obviously I wouldn't say no to attending a vision board night. I would probably more so like either create a collage or use a vision board that I've already created to influence what I would actually put in my vision board if I were doing it in a group setting. I also think it would be a fun idea to host a little movie night at home. Again, this is so low key. You could just pick a movie that you and your friends either have all wanted to see. You could do like a new release screening, or you could pick an old favorite. For my friend Nora's bachelorette last year, we were in Asheville and we stayed at a house basically like in the mountains. And the way we started our mornings were just by like watching Vampire Diaries and Twilight and like just all of the movies from our youth. I'm pretty sure we watched High School Musical too, like just going back and revisiting a throwback, especially if you are getting together with friends from high school or with friends from childhood, or just any of your friends with a shared interest in nostalgia, millennial movies. Like if I were to have my high school friends over, I'm sure we'd be watching the Lizzie McGuire movie, or like Freaky Friday, or I don't know, just some throwback like that. Honestly, I want to host something like this year. We are actually supposed to get our new couch next week, fingers crossed. Also, I have to figure out how to get our old couch the heck out of this apartment. I don't know exactly how we're going to do that, but I guess it got in here, so it must be able to leave as well. And I feel like movie night is so fun because you can keep it so low key. You could just do like snacks, have everyone come in their pajamas. You don't have to like do makeup or like worry about an outfit or anything like that. It can really just be like a come as you are relaxed environment. On the complete flip side, Miley Cyrus taught us how to love the GNO, the girls' night out, and going out with the girls, especially around Valentine's Day season, I just think is so much fun. And again, if you want to book something for actual Valentine's Day, I feel like getting a group of friends together, like a group of the single gals, to say, hey, we're all going out together on Valentine's Day, like let's make a big group dinner reservation somewhere, is a really fun way to do it. Or again, you could do it like the day before, the day after, just sometime during February to get together and celebrate with the gals. This actually brings back a very niche memory for me. I want to say this was Valentine's Day, either my junior or senior year of college. A couple friends and I went out in the city because I went to college in New York, if you don't know. And there was this restaurant, I feel like it was on Irving Place, like right by Union Square in the city. It was so random. It used to be called The Cottage, and I think it closed a few years ago, but this place was amazing. It was a Chinese food restaurant of all things. And they also, depending on either what you ordered or maybe you paid an additional set price on top of it, they had like an unlimited wine option. One year I went there with a bunch of friends for Galentine's Day and we just stuffed our faces with Chinese food. We ordered the unlimited wine and we had ourselves a grand old time. I feel like there are also sometimes fun, like themed cocktail bars or pop ups that you could go to. You could also do Galentine's Day brunch as an ode to the original Parks and Rec Galentine's Day episode. Or if like going out on the town, out at night, out drinking is not your vibe, I feel like you could also get the girls together to just like do an activity. So it could be, I don't know, a Pilates class, you could do a pottery class. Maybe you could do a cooking class of some kind or cake decorating, like in an official setting. There's never a bad reason to get the girls together, but one of the best reasons is Galentine's Day. And I truly feel like this could happen anytime in February. So if you're listening to this episode after the 13th, I mean, there are still plenty of opportunities to get something together, get something on the calendar, hang with your friends. It really does always just like put a true smile on my face and bring me a ton of joy. Okay, let's talk Valentine's Day if you're married or in a long-term relationship. And I guess you could argue this is the one that I have the most insights on. I mean, Valentine's Day, I think is fun being married, but it's also so not a big deal compared to a lot of other milestones or a lot of other things that I do in my relationship as a married person. Like, I am so grateful for Andrew. I really do truly appreciate all that he does for me. He helps me with so many things. He really keeps me on track. He keeps me grounded. He makes me feel very emotionally supported. These are all things that I really appreciate him. And I personally try as a partner to show him that I appreciate him year round versus rely on like one chance on Valentine's Day to show him how much I love him, like do something flashy or spend a lot of money to do something. Like, I really do feel like Valentine's Day does not need to be expensive or over the top, especially when you're already like locked in with someone. I mean, I do think it's nice to do things, and I obviously I'm going to share some ideas of things you could do, but also at the end of the day, like, I am just so grateful to my partner and I'm so grateful to be married. And again, I really just try to demonstrate that with acts of service and words of affirmation and all of the different things sprinkled all throughout the year, not just on one day where I have one chance to say something, because that feels highly dramatic and not necessarily realistic. So the first Valentine's Day I spent with Andrew was in 2018. We met in 2017, but a couple days after Valentine's Day. So see, you just never know. And I asked if we could go to one of my favorite restaurants in Brooklyn that's called Cheese Boat. It is still a restaurant. It's a Georgian restaurant. And they serve cheese boats, which are basically these like bread bowls filled with cheese. It's delicious. And it's usually such a quiet, low-key spot. And I actually still have a video on my phone of us at that dinner because that night for Valentine's Day, they ended up bringing in like a DJ and they were turning it into a dancey vibe. And this must have been after work one night. It must have been like a Wednesday or Thursday or something. And we laughed so hard at the fact that our like romantic Valentine's Day was taken over by like a DJ who was trying to bump the tunes. So that was the first Valentine's Day we spent together. It was so fun. And honestly, we've done some meals out for Valentine's Day, and I think doing it once or twice is really nice to like go out to dinner February 14th. We got a reservation. But I think we just kind of ultimately realized it's not our vibe. A lot of times there are like prefix menus. It's also kind of like being in a bit of a simulation where you walk into a restaurant and it's like everyone is in a pair and you're kind of like so distracted by everyone else that you like can't really focus on the person that you actually came there with. And it usually ends up being like really expensive. It's usually not always like the best quality of atmosphere or date. I mean, don't get me wrong, some places I know do a fantastic job. I think we've just personally come to the understanding that that's not what's most important to us, and that there are other ways we could spend Valentine's Day, or other times we could go out to a nice meal that are a little bit more low pressure and are just ways where we would actually really be able to enjoy the time and enjoy each other's company. I mean, for me, if nothing else on Valentine's Day, I love a handwritten card. I don't care where you get the card from. I don't care how much money the card is. All I care about is getting a card with a little note in it. To me, that is just acknowledgement, like, hey, today's special. I'm really happy we're together, and here is something to acknowledge that. I feel like Valentine's Day could also be a fun opportunity to recreate either your first date or an early date of yours. The restaurant that Andrew and I had our first date at is actually no longer open, but there is a good looking Thai restaurant that opened not far from there. So maybe even like going back to that neighborhood or exploring something in the early stages of your relationship is a fun way to remember like how you met and connected in the first place. I actually have a video on my YouTube channel where I take you to the spot where we had our first date, even though it's not there anymore, and also the spot that we met. So I will link that video in the show notes in case you want to watch it. If you still live in the area that you first met in, you could do like a long walk around the neighborhood, talk about some of your favorite spots, remember some of your favorite memories. I think that's a really cute Valentine's Day date idea. You could cook dinner at home together that evening. If one of you is more of a cook than the other, maybe one person could be in charge of cooking, the other person could be in charge of drinks or music or an activity that you guys can do together. You guys could also make a little memory book or memory timeline as a gift. I tried to do this for Andrew one year, and it actually looks like a toddler made it because I'm not very crafty. But one year for Valentine's Day, I did try to put together like tickets of like concerts that we'd been to or activities or like receipts from restaurants and things like that. And I tried to make it like into a New York City skyline. God, it was such a cute idea in theory, but the execution is actually laughable. It's here in the apartment somewhere, or maybe we threw it out during the move, honestly, because it's like, look, this was a cute idea, but let's be honest, we're never gonna like hang this up anywhere. But it still was like the thought that counts, I guess. And it's something that I can look back on and laugh at now. And maybe a couple of other unconventional ideas to do with your partner. You could do a paint night together at home or do a puzzle. You could honestly just sit and talk about your future. There's also games like We're Not Really Strangers or Get Closer. Those are both card games that I can link in the show notes too, where you basically just like get to ask questions of your partner that maybe you haven't really asked before or get the gears turning to talk about topics that maybe you guys haven't broached lately. I think that's always fun. And also, one of my favorite ways to spend like a date with Andrew is to plan a trip together. We love traveling. And even if we don't actually book tickets or anything, we love like brainstorming, creating like itineraries, making lists of where we want to go next, what the weather's going to be, when we should be traveling, how many days we would want to go. I just think that's such a fun activity to do. And I also thought it would be fun for this episode to put together a little Valentine's TV watch list for you. So I pulled a couple episodes from some of my favorite TV shows that focus on Valentine's Day, some of which are very sincere, a lot of which like make fun of Valentine's Day or poke fun at it. So if any of these shows are favorites of yours, definitely save these episodes to go back and listen to. And I will list these all in the blog post for today's episode, which will also be in the show notes. Okay, obviously, The Office has an episode called Valentine's Day. Dunder Mifflin crew does cards and has awkward office celebrations, as is the case with most Office episodes. Parks and Rec, the Galentine's Day episode, that is the original celebration of girlhood. There's also a Parks and Rec episode for Valentine's Day called Operation Anne, where Leslie sends Ben on a scavenger hunt and tries to bring Anne to a singles mixer. Modern Family, the episode is My Funky Valentine. Glee has one called Silly Love Songs. There are two great ones for 30 Rock. One is called Valentine's Day, where Liz Lemon is dating Dr. Drew, played by John Hamm. And everything goes awry, and then Jack Donaghy is dating Elisa, and he like has to go to church with her because of Saint Valentine, who we discussed earlier, but he made like an expensive dinner reservation and he'd rather be there. And then also Anna Howard Shaw Day, that's another one. Gilmore Girls has a Vineyard Valentine. That's their only Valentine's Day episode, and some people love that episode, some people hate it. It's the one where they go to Cape Cod for Valentine's Day, and it's Rory and Logan and Lorelai and Luke. Gossip Girl has two. It Happened One Night is where Chuck throws the Valentine's Day benefit and surprises Serena, and Serena is trying to like navigate her feelings for Ben. And then they also have one in season 5, I believe, called Crazy Cupid Love. Blair is trying to set up Dan and Serena, but is distracted by her own feelings for Dan. New Girl also has an episode called Valentine's Day in season 1. I feel like season 1 and 2 are really peak New Girl for me personally. So I really hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I feel like I haven't done an episode like this in a little while. Valentine's Day really is one of those holidays that people have mixed emotions over, and I completely understand and get why. I just feel like there are so many different types of love. Romantic love is obviously the one most talked about for Valentine's Day, but any excuse to get together to celebrate your friends or celebrate yourself, celebrate your home, and the love that you have for all of these good things in life. I just think that's really nice, especially because it's been, a chaotic couple of weeks to be a human. 2026 is off to a very crazy start, I would say. So even to be able to take one day to just take care of yourself, acknowledge yourself, show yourself some love, show people in your life who are good to you some love as well, I think that's really nice. Thank you guys again so much for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate you being here. If you are watching on YouTube, please do subscribe to the channel. We recently hit 100 subscribers on YouTube, which I know doesn't sound like a lot, but YouTube is a long game, and I'm so grateful for all 100 people who are subscribed on there. You can also subscribe to or follow the show on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to your podcasts. And if you have a second to leave a 5-star review on Apple, that is particularly helpful as well. That really helps new people discover the show and get the content recommended to them in case they also want to listen to this or any of the other episodes. And in case no one said it to you today, I love you guys. Thanks again for being here. I'll talk to you all again next week.